flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, secretary tonight. Kathy?
Can I close or stop?
Does that mean you can't hear me?
No, you're on the good side.
Okay. Okay, since Jerry's not here, she hasn't sent us any minutes from last month's meeting. Wait a minute, let me go back up. We'll do roll call first, I'm sorry. Doug?
Present.
Jeff?
Present.
Kathy?
Present.
Kathy, and the other ones are absent. Okay, like I was saying, since we don't have meetings from last meeting, since Jerry's not here, we'll just table the meetings, the minutes, and approve them at the next meeting. Is that agreeable? Do we make a motion and vote on that?
Probably.
Okay,
I also move that the minutes be tabled that were available.
and second? Okay, how do you vote, Doug?
Yep.
Jeff?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Okay, the first thing we have is the Kenneth Boone subdivision on Grimes Road. And we have questions? Does anybody want to ask?
Well, I don't know, I mean, the ask is maybe it could be presented, that's all.
Well, we presented the last,
We had the last meeting, we didn't
actually.
really know what was,
Yeah.
yeah.
I have a question. On one paper here, you say there will be no building, and then this month I see there is paperwork for the 10-acre exemption that you are going to build?
No.
No?
The new one, no, neither one of them actually.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, I thought that we don't have a presentation on what the plan is, that's all. Something simple, easy, doesn't be too complicated. You understand what it's all about?
Yeah.
Okay, well, then maybe you can explain to me then.
As I understand it, you're just adding this to the existing houses there.
Yes,
You're attaching this new,
yes, we just added on to what.
Just adding on to the acreage then.
Yeah.
Okay.
reduce them to 10 acres, coming into clean green probably.
Yeah,
There's no problem with, what I understand from the map, as far as access or
I've seen it, yeah.
its location. Anybody else like to see the map or read through any of it?
Did you happen to get anything on another 10 acres that we're subdividing?
This is all the,
Do you just have the one?
yeah.
We got another one coming, so.
surveyor's no late.
Pardon?
Nothing, it just, our surveyor didn't get it done for us.
Who's your surveyor on it?
Mounts.
John's Mounts.
Mounts?
Is it on that one?
There's nothing else in, it's just this one. Does anyone have any problems with anything? Nope.
Read the merits.
Same.
I have moved that we grant the subdivision.
a second, please?
I'll second.
How do you vote, Doug?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Jeff?
Yes.
Me? And the others are absent. Find the right block here. Supervisors. I think I need to sign two of these, don't I?
I believe so. Jeff, did you get one of these code books? I put my extra ones in there. I can get one for you for the next meeting if you want. Oh, okay. I think we can. If you didn't have one, I could get you. I'm just gonna get it today. Whole chapter with this.
Excuse me, Doug, what would be your procedure since we don't have a secretary? You know, Kathy just sign this acting secretary?
Yep.
And then just note below it that you're acting secretary. And then there's a little note below it, acting secretary. And then this will go before the supervisors. Again, next meeting, we've already approved it. Of course, Doug is one of the supervisors, so we'll be able to present it then and you'll be on your way.
Okay.
Hey Lee, I have a question. How many meetings for the planning commission are you allowed to miss in a row and still be on the planning commission?
I don't know if,
Is there anything with that, Kathy, or you just miss as many as you want?
There never was.
No? I
You're
was just
on it
wondering.
until you resign or till the chairman asks you, do you want to be on it? Do you want to be off of it?
and since the planning commission doesn't itself have a charter, we've never done it, they've never done a charter for the planning commission. If we did a charter, then that would be in that charter, it would state how many times, how many meetings you can miss. But there isn't one.
And I was just thinking that.
To my, as long as I've been with the commission, this is the first time we've had, 3 people miss it. Or the only one that I can ever remember actually missing was, Mark missed a couple, and Tony with his health problems. But, we always had enough for a quorum, we always had enough to conduct business. And I don't know if that really becomes critical unless you have enough that you can't make quorum and can't conduct your business.
Right.
So I don't. We've never discussed, writing up a charter for the planning commission.
So then basically it's what is ever acceptable to the chairman.
Correct. And like I say, this becomes a problem, and at the present time, we don't have one. Y'all are finished, you can leave if you like, if you want to, you can stick around and listen. We're going to get into a training session, so sort of updating the subdivision ordinance.
He said you could leave it.
So do we want to proceed with this, or what do you want to?
I have one good proceed.
Does Kathy just take the notes? She started
For
this.
elevator music.
I don't know if there's too many notes to take at this point, other than go through this. There's a few things I think that definitely needs some attention. There's not a lot of them, but there's a few.
Yeah. Do you want to do it by going through our new Donald Township zoning ordinance? Do you want to do?
No, I would say use the subdivision land development ordinance, chapter 110, and that, well, this is the same document, just that section of it. And it might make sense if you were in agreement with it. I would have got maybe 8 or 9 different places marked, just go through those 8 or 9 different things.
That probably is.
Yeah,
Go through that.
I mean, that's up to you guys, I don't.
And if somebody else has something in particular they want to go through or bring up.
Let me just talk a little bit in generalities. I looked at 6 or 8 different land division, or land and subdivision land development ordinances today. And I didn't read them in great detail, I just kind of scanned through them. This ordinance is one of the more simplified versions compared with what other townships are using, especially other townships our size. This ordinance, I don't recall all the details of it, but I was around when this thing was originally adopted. This, my understanding, Kathy, you can correct me, but my understanding was this was the Washington County. This was the Washington County ordinance. And Washington County said, we're gonna quit enforcing this end of it. Townships, you need to take it over. And Nottingham Township pretty much adopted the county ordinance. In fact, originally, back years ago, I recall there were places in the ordinance that actually says the county shall do this instead of the township. They never got it changed. And if you go to page, section 110-2, which is the very second page of the document, on the bottom under jurisdiction, you will see the planning commission shall have jurisdiction control subdivision and land development located within the county limits instead of township limits. So there's an example of the one that didn't get fixed. And back in the days when this was created, I don't know if they had the ability to do a search and replace on any words that were duplicated. This ordinance was, if I remember, Kathy, and again you can correct me, but I think this ordinance was created when the township was having difficulty with a mobile home court that was being built. And in fact, this ordinance was adopted, and then there was some attempt to enforce that upon the individual who owned the mobile home court. And Donegal Township ended up in court. And we were in court for, Kathy, how many years? 15 years?
A long time.
A long time. And we end up, our insurance company ended up settling and paying damages in the case. So that's kind of how this thing came to be, and this has been used for a lot of years. This particular section of it is, this particular ordinance is the version that was kind of polished up when it was incorporated into the Donegal Code. This is not the original ordinance. This is the one that was put in the code book. The page number, the next page beside it, 110-110-3, under violations, 110-6, violations of penalties. There's just some language in there in section A needs corrected where it says district justice. They're no longer called district justices. They prefer district judge.
What section was that?
That was 110-6A. And this talks about district justices, and they're actually now district judges.
Hang on, let me find it.
If you look down, just halfway down to section A, you'll see where it says
1, 2.
determination of a violation by district justice.
Line 6.
Yeah.
It's also on line 9.
Yeah, it's in there, multiple. Probably throughout this ordinance, may be in there a couple more times.
And we're going to change district justice.
It should be, the thing should be changed to the current terminology, district judge. The next section, which I think, and I could be wrong, but I think it's a section that we've had the most concern with, the township has, and the planning commission has, and that's 110.6, or it's 110-7 on top. Definition of two different definitions there. Number one being improvements to land and land development. What is land development? And that definition is key. And it's the improvement of one lot or two or more contiguous lots, tracts or parcels of land for any purpose involving a group of two or more buildings or a division and so forth, by allocation of land, and so forth.
Okay, hang on just a second, I'm trying to catch up.
I'm gonna say that whole section is, that definition's key. There's been a lot of questions over the years when somebody's developing land, is that something that goes before the planning commission or not? And it comes down to what is land development. So this definition of land development, I'm not saying it's good, bad, or indifferent. I don't know that it covers everything that needs to cover. We might want to find a good
Just a
definition.
second, Joe. I'm sure-
You got it?
No, I don't.
Under the definition, land development, it's
Excuse me.
the one that
Just-
says one.
She's right.
He's just,
Those two.
Yeah, that whole section,
Yeah.
that whole section needs some attention. I don't know what it needs to be better defined. I mean, the question came up, for example, we talked about it a long time ago about a car wash. Does it belong under land development or not, or building a mobile home court, or building a campground, or building anything? Is it considered land development, and how does it fit within this ordinance? And that's the section, I don't have any proposed language for it. I'm just saying that's something I think that needs cleaned up. And maybe it's clean enough, I don't know. If it is, then we need to follow that in regards to what is land development.
What would you recommend changing?
Well, I don't know that it'll change anything. I'm just saying that we've never used that land development definition as trying to follow those regulations and follow the ordinance.
as we've just discussed it, the issue of a group of two or more buildings, it's the difference between saying, I went through the drive-thru at McDonald's and got a hamburger, and I went through again and got another hamburger. That's not a group of hamburgers. So the question is, a group of two or more buildings, if I'm building two houses at the same time, is that land development? Or if I build a house now and a garage later, the problem is the term group.
That
That's-
needs to be cleaned up.
Yes, and it's questionable. It can be argued either direction, which is
I think it's ambiguous.
yes, it is.
Yeah, and
The group is the questionable part of it.
yeah, and it makes sense what you said, and I don't know the exact language, but if we were gonna highlight a section that needs work, that would be one, okay?
Because I was under the understanding that it was written vaguely, so when I build a house, and then, or whatever you said, 6 months later or so, so that it didn't become a burden on the landowner who was just developing the farm, or whatever word you would use,
Mhm.
fixing it up. But I do see what you're saying.
Yeah, that's
Like that.
that's how it was described
Why
to
wait
me.
6 months or so to do another house? and then another
Yes,
house,
legally,
another
if you
house,
go
I
through
develop it.
repeatedly in McDonald's,
Yeah.
you've gotten a hamburger each time, but you didn't have a group.
The whole point is to become land development.
Yes, which is what we've questioned several times.
Yeah.
That's
It's
Yes.
not clear. And I'm not sure that it needs to be decided tonight. I think that's one of the important things that needs to be fixed. Obviously, the word changes are a no-brainer, but this one might require some thought. The next thing I have marked this is under final plan and submittal, and this is 110-12, 110-12, 110-13. About halfway down the page under final plan submittal, which is 110-13. Did you find that? Okay. Section down here dealing with the final plan submittal, and that we're required not to approve any subdivision or land development plan unless accompanied by the particular documents. And I'm not sure that's always been happening. And in the case of sewage disposal or water supply, we need to make sure that those two things were met. For example, right now, we've got somebody out here at the interstate that's going to be developing a lot, and if they've determined that if they're gonna have public water, public sewer, I know that we have capacity for water and sewer to add on another customer, but technically, they're supposed to come to us and say, yes, we do have enough water and sewer to add on this extra customer. Or extra in the case of one of the developments that's being proposed for the township, 100 homes. Does Claysville have enough water supply or sewage supply for 100 homes or a motel? I don't know that, but that's a requirement. And I don't know that I've ever seen one of these documents that says that we have adequate supply to supply those things. And that's one of the reasons we have this whole ordinance system, a little planning to make sure that we don't build a motel or hotel if we don't have the water or sewer for it. So we need, I'm not saying that needs changed, but it's something that we need to keep in mind when we see these subdivisions, that those items are there. You know, if it's gonna be a building lot such as this one we just did, if it's gonna be a building there, is there sewage accommodations there? You know, or he said he's not gonna be building on it, it's going to be adding the
Well,
land.
in the instance of this Boone subdivision,
It's a non-building lot.
they're already building there, and they're just adding more.
Right, that's what I'm,
to that.
that's what I'm saying, is,
Yeah.
that's why I said, that's why I was wondering what exactly they were doing, if they're just adding on to the property, there's no need to see one of these documents. Now, that might change if they come back 6 months from now, like, use the McDonald's idea, and now they wanna build a house on that other 6 acres, now we don't have any document that says they got although they'll still have to jump through the hoops of the sewage council.
Well, suppose the 10-acre exemption is with that, and that's what I said, on that paperwork, they said, yes, they were building a house, yes, they have.
There shouldn't be a 10-acre exemption with it if it's a non-building
Well,
lot.
it's there.
You know,
That's because they're
They
adding
say
10
yes,
acres
they
to
are
an
putting a
existing
resident on
land.
there.
there should be no,
making it
but
more
there
than
should-
10.
but there should be no 10-acre exemption because they're not building.
But
Yeah.
on that paper, they say they are building.
Okay, so.
That's why I asked the question, because one paper says no building, and the 10-acre exemption says, yes, they will be building.
I think you thought it was just there's a building,
Yeah.
because I know they're not building.
Yeah, you're right, they did under 2 for Clean and Green, now they would be over 10.
Right, they want to be
They're
over
giving
10,
it
so
to-
they're exempt from,
Yeah.
or so they can go to Clean and Green.
They're giving it
Keep
to
it.
their grandchildren that are,
That's what I think.
yeah.
Yeah.
I actually know that because they're my family, so.
Well, I don't have a problem with what they're doing. I'm just saying that that's something we gotta make sure that we make
Yeah.
everybody complies with that, that's all. Next page, 11014, this is the housekeeping item G on top, 11013, 11014, line G. It puts a date in there that says that they have to have a plan to us by the 10th of the month. I think maybe the wise thing would be able to put in there that at the 10th day, calendar day of the month, or a date that's otherwise set by resolution of the Board of Supervisors. Because planning commissions has moved their meeting around. It used to be early in the month, now it's late in the month. I'm just saying that could be cleaned up so that it doesn't become an issue timing wise. We don't want people to have to wait 2 months to get an approval on these processes. It won't slow anybody down. The next one is 110-22, and it's section D, building lines. This section particularly is covered under the new ordinance in the township, the zoning ordinance, and this language does not comply with this 110-22, section D, that's on top of section 1, ABC, and section 2, I guess, building lines. Whatever's in this, either that whole section needs to be worded to say that this was found somewhere else in the township ordinances, or this language needs to be amended to say what the other ordinance says. this is no longer applicable. The next whole section, which is 110-26, 110-28, that is Article 6, mobile home park development. This whole ordinance is been replaced. It's now part of the zoning ordinance. That whole section could be eliminated. You find it 110-26, 110-28, it's the first page of it, and it goes through, clear back to 110-33, down to judicial review, and that whole section is no longer an applicable ordinance. And not that it's worth changing, but just worth noting, 110-37. I heard this provision and I didn't really realize where it was added in until I took time to study the thing, but it's 110-39 is a section number, and it's the hardship variance. And we do have a section here that allows the planning commission to grant variances and modifications. And 110-39. It's not always a hard. Everything's not always a black and white issue. It can be a gray issue. According to this, the documents in the back look fine. I didn't see any issues with those. And those were the things that I saw.
Hey, you didn't want to change anything in the hardship.
No, I just want to note that it's there, and that we have, the planning commission has that ability to say, it puts an undue burden upon the property owner, let's not make them do quite all of that, or some setback variances, or, whatever the case might be. And those are something that come up most often, variances in this township is the setback variances. Especially on side country roads where you don't get that much traffic. If you encroach on that 35 feet, it's not a big deal.
Okay, Doug, you talked about changing the improvements.
I don't know, I don't know the correct language on that.
No.
But maybe we could steal the correct language from someone else's
Yeah.
ordinance. If somebody knows of a land development ordinance that works, they like, or somebody wants to write one, write their own definition for this, I'm okay with it. I don't know what the changes should be. I just think that's one of the big issues of this ordinance is that section.
Okay, and we need to change the definition under land development also.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I think the whole thing needs to be clear.
The only other thing I saw that I think needs addressed, because the township, to my knowledge, has never, ever done this, is the earth moving.
Yeah.
There's a big
I
section on
mentioned-
earth moving.
Yeah, you and I talked about that. I agree with you. I don't know if the planning commission needs to do it, maybe they should do it, but I think part of that process is that it needs to make sure that we have the permitting process through the county, through the soil conservation people. So that it's not hardly a day goes by, or at least not a week goes by here, we don't get a notification of somebody digging that has things messed up. The soil running into people's ponds, and things like that. It's things like that. Maybe had the planning commission addressed that when Columbia Gibraltar started, maybe he wouldn't have that issue.
Yeah, that's 11019.
At one time.
Is it section or
I don't have page numbers.
I mean, there's a lot there, so
is that
If we
section
can-
or page?
that's a section, 11019. If we're not going to enforce it,
I think you need that section, really.
yeah,
But I don't know that the planning commission has much to do with enforcing it. I think it's an issue that the, definitely needs to be enforced.
So this is kind of something that,
I think that's something, if somebody comes in and they talk about, we're going to, let's say, we're gonna build a housing development, and we're gonna, I know that in those cases, the engineers will bring us a soil plan,
right,
okay? And I'm sure Columbia Gibraltar had a soil plan, but didn't probably go far enough to where you are.
They didn't get the control ponds in fast.
Okay.
That's part of it.
Like,
So-
I think too, if excavation's under land requirements,
Mhm.
and that's under design standards, perhaps if it had its own category, it would be easier to find too for people.
I don't have any problem putting.
Because I don't know that I would look under design standards, because most people when they're digging don't particularly care or have a design standard.
Usually people that are digging, they're in a hurry to get it done.
Yeah, so they don't
They're in a hurry to get it
necessarily,
done, so before
before they get caught, so they don't really care about,
that's usually what happens. So, yeah, I don't have an issue with having that as a separate section, or somehow, I mean, it's something that, Lee, maybe we need a checklist, that when somebody brings in the subdivision,
That's
that you get down the road and say, okay, land, requirements and grading, what do you have for that? I don't see anything for that, okay? Well, that's an issue, okay? And maybe a checklist would help we won't miss some of these things in this. Because I don't know that anybody's ever, over the years that I've been around, just too long, that anybody ever took time to, I can be honest with you, it's the first time I ever read this ordinance from front to back. It was going through it for tonight. It doesn't really make for that good of reading.
We have another copy of that.
Yeah, we have, there's 14 of these, to count them in the file
I
cabinet.
think, don't you have a full set, Debbie?
pardon me?
Don't you have a full set of those?
I have everything in my book.
She has the code book. This is the same thing, just on a separate binder.
Yeah.
But if anybody wants these, we can, we'll see that